Hey y'all, my name is Briley Casanova and I am a mental performance coach. I help athletes reach their full potential while working through mental challenges within their sport. For example, I help athletes learn how to perform better under pressure, whether that's learning how to see competition differently with mindset shifts or learning energy and relaxation management techniques. I also help with goal setting, leadership, maintaining focus, and overcoming fear. My goal is to help others find their inner confidence and self-trust, which hopefully leads to further success and joy in their sport. Let's get started with today's pep talk. Today, I don't know what exactly brought this on, but as you can tell by the title of this pep talk episode today, I wanted to talk about my relationship with exercise as a former gymnast and just athlete in general. I've had my fair share of different experiences when it comes to, exercise. I've tried so many different things. I've lifted lots of weights. I've done lots of cardio. I've stretched. So I'd like to think that I have a fairly good amount of experience with, what exercise is, what it means to me. I'm just basically really fascinated with the concept of exercise and the requirements that we need, what is basically required to survive and be healthy as a human. I'm just really fascinated by that, not just physically, but all of the, mental things that come along with exercise as well. The things you need to prep for it, the things that you learn from it. And yeah, all those things I'm just really interested in, and I've found that I've had a lot of time to think about it because now that I'm on the other side where I'm not the athlete that I used to be anymore, it's been a really good learning opportunity for me to just kind of think about and process. And, I've gone through a lot of changes, I think, in terms of my perceptions about exercise and, body image that comes along when you're talking about exercise too, I think, to some degree. Basically, I'm deeply fascinated with all of these things, especially when body image comes into play, when it comes to talking about diet and exercise and all of those things associated with that nature. I even wrote my thesis on body image and retired female gymnasts, so I think it's kind of obvious in, how heavily invested and interested I am. And, I have my own relationship with these things too. And I just figured, why not share the things, my opinions, basically. I guess that's a kind of a small disclaimer I want to make about today's episode. All of these things are just my opinions. I am of course educated when it comes to psychology and kinesiology, and sports psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nurse. I'm just someone who has dedicated most of their life and academic and athletic career to learning as much as I can about these things. So I did want to put that out there, just so there's no misconceptions about who I am and what I'm qualified to do. So I'm not going to sit here and try and diagnose myself with anything, nor would I ever try and diagnose someone else. So just putting that out there in case anyone doesn't know who I am, and where I'm coming from. But I do think that what I think, how I feel, all those things are most certainly relevant to our discussion today. And I don't know, I love this podcast because it's kind of like therapy for me, as I'm sure if you have a podcast or a YouTube channel or something, I'm sure you can relate to that same feeling of just wanting to be heard, feel heard, express yourself, those kinds of things. So I hope you guys are okay with that. Hope you guys can bear with me today. So I guess what I want to start with is, I guess maybe just starting with the idea of maybe getting back into pre-retirement shape. So before my gymnastics career came to an end, I guess maybe I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And maybe, because I've seen, athletes come before me, go through the whole collegiate athletic process or maybe the professional athletic process. And I think, unfortunately, in our day and age of social media and comparison and competing, as an athlete, we all have a competitive nature about us too. So I know that comes into play, but I think there's this big, goal or dream of always trying to stay in the best shape of your life every single day. And for me, that, like, looking back, the best shape of my life was probably when I was like 15. So if I'm being really honest, I think, I guess maybe in terms of like physical ability and weight management and, I think basically those two things are what I'm referring to in terms of like best shape of my life. Like, I had the most skill, like I was at my highest skill level when I was about 15. So I guess that's what I would say like the best shape of my life was. And most certainly after I turned like really 13, my weight, of course dramatically started to increase. But despite that, I'd still say my best time period was when I was in like that 15 age time period. And then once I hit college, that was like kind of where, that's kind of where all of that, I guess you could say it went away on the outside. But personally, like, now that I'm, what is it? It's 2020. So I graduated in 2016, and that's where like my career ended early in 2016. So it's been over 4 years since I've been in like even just really phenomenal shape if you're looking on the outside. So I don't know. I'll talk about, my mindset on getting back into the best shape of my life. I don't really, I think, buy into that. I don't think that's realistic, at least for me. I don't know. I know a lot of other people in other sports maybe can go on a lot longer in their careers, but since gymnastics specifically is such a, temporary sport, I mean, you start at a really young age and you're pretty much done at a really young age. I don't see how people can even like put that pressure on themselves to, fit into whether it's their high school clothes or their high school athletic clothing. I don't think that that's feasible or realistic or healthy. So I just find it interesting how I see a lot of gymnasts, once they retire, a lot tend to be really focused on, staying in such really great shape, not really allowing themselves like a break or like a bounce back period or a period of like maybe finding out what their current size and shape maybe should be or could be. I just don't think that's even a part of like maybe the handbook, so to speak. Like, there isn't a what to do when you're done with your athletic career handbook, and I don't think that we athletes talk about that. Maybe in some sports they do, I know, and like when, like in college, I just remember hearing, like for a lot of the sports that had the opportunity to go pro when their college career was done, like basketball, football, those kinds of sports, there was a lot of discussion, I think, within those groups when it came to like how to maintain your health and wellness and, fitness upon going to the pros and then upon retiring from the pros. I feel like those resources were more like readily, maybe not readily available, but I guess just more emphasized in those kinds of sports. So I don't know, I think it would just be a little more interesting if, or maybe not interesting is the right word, but like helpful if, we talked about maybe the mindset and approach when it comes to, how we approach exercise when we're done with our sport, at least like for full time. You know what I mean? I hope that made sense, but in my head it makes sense. So I don't know, I wanted to just briefly mention that and see what you guys think about it. If I have any former or current athletes listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please share those with me through one of my social media channels or my email in the future if you don't mind. But now I kind of want to transition to like, what do I like to do for exercise now that I'm done as a gymnast? What are the things that I found, fun, healthy, things that keep me in shape and actually keep me wanting to exercise? Because I could also talk about like my motivation when it comes to exercise. I guess I'll get into that in a minute, but the things that I like to do and the things that I think are really fun, I'll just kind of list. So tennis, I took a couple tennis lessons in grad school that I really loved and really enjoyed. I wish I took more advantage of that now specifically, but I know that at least if I had to pick like a new sport or a new activity to pick up, I love tennis. That's so fun. And I love ballroom dancing, and I don't think a lot of people know this about me, but also my senior year of college, since I graduated high school a semester early, so I graduated high school in December of 2012, and so that means I started college in January of 2013, so like right after I graduated high school, basically went to college. And so since gymnastics season is in the early part of the year, I still had, an entire summer and then the entire fall semester at college, like in undergrad, whenever I was done with gymnastics. So that fall in my senior year, I actually joined the Michigan Ballroom Dance Team, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And I did try and keep up with it a little bit in grad school too. I went to a local, ballroom dance facility or a room. I don't know what you call it, a studio, I guess you could say. So I've found a lot of joy in, that kind of activity. So, and I don't know if everyone considers ballroom dancing like physical activity or exercise, but I definitely do. And that's, I guess, another maybe unpopular opinion I guess I'll bring up while I'm here, because I know like there's so many so many opinions about like what really true exercise means and physical activity. I guess some people, for example, maybe don't think of walking as like a workout. But in my opinion, I think it just really, the question is, well, how fast are you walking? Are you walking on an incline? Are you, how much variety are you incorporating in your walking? Are you, changing up the level? Are you, moving from quick speed to slowing down? How long are you going on the walk? How many steps do you take? I mean, there's so many different things to kind of make that more interesting and more fulfilling and more effective and efficient. So, I don't know. I don't know. And so I guess my point in saying that is you could argue the same for ballroom dancing. Like if you're just doing maybe a slow tango or something, okay, maybe that's not as like cardio inducing as maybe like West Coast swing or East Coast swing, or the quicker types of dance that you would associate with like more jumping and more leaping and spinning and lots of quick footwork, those kinds of things. So anyway, I think ballroom dancing is a great form of exercise and cardio specifically. What else? I love yoga. And again, yoga, a lot of people don't think of yoga as like an intense form of exercise, but really it's as intense as you can make it. Or isn't intense as you make it. You can do heated yoga, you can do there's flow yoga, there's yoga with weights, there's just different variations of it, and I think it's all about what you make it. You can have really relaxing meditative yoga as well, but you can also make it really intense and really difficult actually. And yeah, I guess my final example of exercise that I really love is Pure Barre, or I guess just barre. Pure Barre is like the location and chain that I would attend and go to for the classes, but really any kind of barre class, I love barre. And that's all body weight. So some people don't see body weight exercise as super intense either, but I'm telling you, it is. Like, if you just go take a barre class yourself, you'll see what I mean. But I guess with all of that being said, I just want to kind of reshape maybe our idea of what exercise is. So to me, what I've learned, and from the classes I've taken, from the people I've spoken to in health and fitness, that industry, exercise doesn't have to mean like you're dripping in sweat, you're huffing and puffing, and to where you can't move the next day. I don't think that's like, first of all, that's not fun. Like, I don't want to be necessarily feeling like that every single day or after every single workout. There are some workouts where maybe it's just fine tuning, and those can be just as effective, as the workouts where you are like, you're bent over, you're huffing and puffing and dripping in sweat, you know? But I don't think all exercise has to be that way. And that's just not fun to me. Like, don't get me wrong, I love an effective workout, but I feel like the most effective workouts I've had, and like where I've seen the most change in my body at least, are the ones where like I've really focused on certain body parts, and like, and I love full body workouts too, but it's really like maybe the fine tuning aspect and, you know, breaking down body parts, you know, one day at a time, and focusing on those things. That's where I feel like really big change can happen too, when it comes to like small steps, I guess, so to speak, or maybe like, I don't know. To me, I don't think exercise has to be like a crazy, you know, huge thing you need to dedicate your entire life to. I do think it's like, it's an attitude, it's a lifestyle, it's a mentality, and it, you know, it's important, but it's not the most important, you know? If you're physically healthy, but you're not mentally healthy, like, what's the point? How do you get any joy from your physical activity, you know? Because physical activity and working out should bring joy, and you should do it because, you know, it is healthy, but you should also do it because you like it. Like, I think that's what's sustainable and keeps you motivated and keeps you going too. So if there's anything you can take away from our talk today, I hope that you, at least if you're choosing to work out, I hope you find something that you genuinely like and enjoy, because I think that's how you stay with it and continue on with it and make it, you know, a more effective and fulfilling part of your life. So let's see, I'm trying to think of like the next topic that I wanted to bring up. Oh, I guess one thing I did want to say, like, that comes with my relationship with working out and stuff, like, I find that some days, like, I find that, like, I feel better when I don't work out too. Like, so first of all, I don't work out every single day. I think that's one of those things that, like, maybe most athletes feel or encounter whenever they're, you know, retired and like they want to, you know, they really want to stay in shape and stuff. But I haven't found that I've had that same mindset or attitude about working out. I don't know, I do think there's too much of a good thing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think working out every day is feasible. And again, this is just for me. If you have to work out every day and that is a part of your routine and you enjoy it, then by all means, of course, keep doing it. But for me personally, I found that, like, I think every other day is probably like a more healthy approach to exercise for me, or at least if I'm gonna do a couple days in a row and I'm feeling really great, then I've done that. But then sometimes I need like a day or even two, or, you know, however long I need in between. I feel like if it mentally makes me feel better, and as long as it makes me come back to wanting to work out again, like the next day, then that's good for me, you know? I just think it's hard, like, seeing, you know, I see a lot of retired athletes that are in just as good a shape than they were, you know, back when they were full-time athletes, and that's amazing. And that, I guess I can see how for other people that would be motivating, but for me, it's like, well, gosh, what are you doing to, like, stay in such amazing shape, at least on the outside? Like, I don't know what they're doing on the inside for them, you know? Gosh, I know I feel like I'm just kind of going on a tangent, but that was just kind of on my mind, and I had to bring that up. But anyway, I guess my point is like, even on a day where maybe you really don't want to work out, or if it's been a couple days in a row and you want to work out, but you don't feel like doing the full thing, you know, I do think moving at all is better than doing absolutely nothing. So even on days, I found lately, especially like on days where I don't want to dedicate myself to like an hour or 30 minutes of like weightlifting or intense cardio, or, you know, whatever activity I choose for that day, even just going for a walk is better than doing nothing, than just remaining sedentary. You know, just dancing in your kitchen for 10 minutes to a couple songs you really like while you're cooking a meal, that's better than just doing nothing. You know, all those little things, you know, walking to your mailbox and back is better than doing nothing. So I guess that's another huge part of my life that I've had to, you know, kind of wrestle with and learn from when it comes to my relationship with what exercise is and how, like, what it means to me. So I don't know. anyway, moving at all is better than nothing. That's a point that I wanted to make today during our discussion. And with that, I do think the whole all or nothing mentality is not a healthy approach to exercise. And like I was saying before, I really don't think you have to like sweat profusely or be bent over struggling to breathe in order to have an effective workout. And you can, I don't know, I saw one of my friends post that on Instagram the other day, and I was like, wow, yeah, you're right. Like I just don't think that I don't think sending that message to maybe like younger kids or like the athletes that are just now getting their careers started, like telling them that you have to be like basically struggling in order to get a good workout, I don't think that that's healthy. And I think that's kind of what I was taught when I was a kid, and I think that's why I have such like strong feelings about approaching exercise, because I definitely still think about like, well, even though I went for a walk, you still kind of feel that guilt a little bit. And so that's something I struggle with. Like, oh gosh, I didn't work out today fully. Like I didn't lift my weights, or I didn't do, I didn't focus on a certain body part, or, basically just skipped the whole workout. But okay, maybe I went for like a 2-mile walk. I'm definitely one that struggles with that whole all or nothing mentality, but I have worked on trying to find that balance of, coming to grips with not every day is going to be like feasible or reasonable for me to commit to like an hour or 30 minutes of straight exercise that's intense, I guess. I hope that makes sense. So I do want to say like that's something, a part of the industry, so to speak, or social media with fitness and health and exercise and the things we teach to other people. That's where like I do think social media can be a great thing, like reminding myself from, seeing my friend post like you don't have to be like drenched in sweat to be considered as having a good workout. That's something that's been really good and positive for me, and there are definitely people out there that are doing it right and sending good messages to people, and or at least healthy, I think balanced messages, because at the end of the day I do think lifestyle, diet, health, wellness, exercise, all those things have to be balanced, and I don't think going to any extreme is helpful or healthy or positive. But there's also like a lot of negative that comes with maybe the people we see on social media, or yeah, I guess I'm still sticking with the whole social media context of this part of the discussion, but yeah, so there's just a lot of good and bad, and there's a lot in the middle, and I think it's just up to us to decide like what we think is, personally appropriate for us. But I guess another thing that I would want to just mention here today with you guys is, if you're following someone who's like not making you feel good, just unfollow them. Like, you don't have to, like, don't make it a part of your daily routine seeing them. Don't look at their feed. I've really become ruthless with like who I follow, who I don't follow. And I think that's been one of the biggest changes I've seen, like, not just mentally, but like who I follow physically. Like, so if I follow a lot of people and I get a lot of my fitness from like YouTube and Instagram and, other sites like that. And I think by following the people that I think are doing a really good job and like who I think try to make others feel welcome, accepted, positive, but are also giving out like facts and knowledge, those are the people that I try to follow. So I just hope that this discussion today encourages you to do the same if that's how you get your exercise content, or even if you have a personal trainer, or if you like pay for certain things, make sure where you're putting your money is like with someone who's not just knowledgeable, but people that actually make you feel like you can do this, and you can feel accepted and not feel judged, and just feel welcomed and feel good things. That's my whole point here. So whether you have a personal trainer that you use and that you pay for, or a gym membership, or if you just follow people on social media, just make sure that it fuels you and doesn't bring you down, especially if your money is involved. So that's another thing that I focus on when it comes to like my relationship with exercise and who I exercise with even. Those are really important to me, and stuff I've learned. It's taken me a really long time to learn. Like, all of this wasn't, formed overnight. This has taken me years and years to kind of understand, at least for where I am right now in time. So I guess I'll transition into like being, retired now. I don't call myself a gymnast. I don't consider myself a gymnast. It's funny when like I've been on interviews and things before and people still like, I guess, refer to me as, oh, you are. Yeah, like they say you are a gymnast, saying it like I still am like flipping on a beam every day. And I get asked, all the time, hey, show me a backflip or show me a side aerial on the ground, like, just anywhere. It just, when you're with certain people or like people you don't really know well yet, I've gotten that a couple times, but all that being said, I get, and this is probably like a personal insecurity of mine, but I get like judgment, I think, from others, like, maybe, yeah, I guess this is from more like, again, like I still kind of compare myself and I'm really working on not doing that, but I feel a sense of judgment being someone who's not like rail thin or stick thin compared to like maybe the typical gymnast look. I don't think I've ever looked that way. Maybe before I turned like 13 or 12 I did, but like once I hit like my teenage years, my true body just kind of like came to the surface. Like I've just been more built. Like I've always been really strong, which is a blessing, and I shouldn't feel bad about that at all. But like by nature of being stronger, I had a lot more muscle, and I was just like, bigger. Like literally, not to sugarcoat it, I was just bigger than my teammates and I was bigger than my competitors. And from like that time on, like again, when I was a teenager, that really started to come to the surface. So I just remember, I guess here's like a brief little story that this like gives me like chills and anxiety just sitting here like talking about this. But I just remember when I was in college, and I'm not going to say like who has said this to me, and it hasn't just been one person. So anyway, I just remember someone telling me and people telling me like, oh, Briley, make sure when you're done with gymnastics, like you don't gain any weight, because people will look at you a certain way and they'll judge you poorly. And I know that probably the people telling me that had really good intentions. Like, I don't ever think it came from a place of like, they're gonna look at me differently. Because I think the reason why they probably felt comfortable enough to tell me is because we had a really good relationship. Again, this wasn't just one person, it was from more than just one person, but I think because they knew like, oh, I'm like I tend to be bigger compared to like most of the gymnasts I was around for the most part. They just wanted to like look out for me and, prepare me for my future, which I appreciate. I understand the positive intention there, but really what that did was just kind of confirm to me like, oh, all I'm good for is, at least when people think of Briley the gymnast, all I'm good for is like for how I look and not for how like I performed or like the accomplishments I had achieved. So again, anyway, I guess that's all I'll say about that. That's kind of hard for me to talk about, but I did want to just kind of bring that up. And I guess just to say, like, please don't, if you're a coach or if you're a parent or if you're another athlete or if you're in like the sport world, just try not to tell other, like, even if you have great intentions, I would just caution you before you tell that to someone, just think like, how would it feel if someone had told you that? Because like hearing that's not fun. And it really has made me think twice about how I like praise people and, I guess what I focus on when it comes to sports and athletes and like commenting on, certain things. So I don't know. It's just made me really think deeply about, like how young athletes' perceptions of themselves are formed. It's just really made me to think a lot about that. And I think that was one of like the driving forces and why I wrote my thesis on what I did. So I don't know, I just feel super passionate about body image specifically, and that's not what the main discussion is about today. But anyway, that comes back to the point of like how I treat exercise. It would be so much more different had I let other people even more into my head, and for a long time I really did, and that's one of my biggest regrets. I've let so many people tell me what is right and wrong when it comes to working out, and maybe working out effectively, I guess. But what I've learned is, like, really, there is no one size fits all, I think. And I know, like, trust me, I believe in science 100%. I've taken the biology courses, I've taken all of those things, and I of course appreciate, respect, and value those things. But I also try to approach, you know, again, if exercise is going to be a lifestyle, you have to incorporate the person with that, you know, exercise regime. So I just hope that if you are a person who can prescribe a exercise regimen for someone, I hope you also ask them questions about who they are, what they value, you know, what motivates them, you know, all those things. They play such an integral role in someone's perceptions of, you know, physical activity, fitness, wellness, in health. So I guess that's just kind of another point I wanted to make too. So I guess I could, I'm looking at my notes here, and I could go into, like, maybe more about, like, the social media part, but I don't know. I don't want to be hypercritical. You know, okay, I'll end on one final point, and then I'll let you guys go for today. But one note that I made here was, I do feel like the people that are really good at exercising every day, they tend to, like, make it known to other people and tend to have maybe a bigger ego about it, and potentially, like, that comes with, like, a superiority complex about being fit. And I know that's a little bit of a generalization, and I don't know. That's just something I've seen, and I can understand how, like, people just get annoyed with that. So, I don't know. I just find it fascinating how it's like, if you don't document your workout, then it's like you don't do it, or like it doesn't exist, you know? So, that's like one side of it. But then on the other side, I love how people have really adapted to what good social media can offer, when it comes to, like, sharing our stories, sharing our lifestyles, sharing our exercise and fitness programs and our knowledge, because those are, you know, it's so valuable. And that, again, like I said, I get my content from there, you know, from those people too. So again, I guess maybe my point with everything today is, like, why can't both be true, right? You know, like, I don't, like, what I'm talking about today doesn't come from a place of, like, hyper criticizing, you know. I really don't want to offend anyone. I really don't want to be rude, and, like, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with a balanced point of view, really, when it comes to approaching exercise, fitness, health, wellness, you know, all those things. I just think it's more than just, like, you know, it's more than just one thing. It's more than just the exercise. It's more than just the diet. It's really, everything has to come together like a big puzzle. But you basically get to create the puzzle pieces, and what size is bigger, you know. I don't know. I guess I'll just end it there. I hope everything I talked about today made sense. I know I tended to kind of ramble and maybe get off track here and there. I know I was a little bit disorganized today. But I did have some notes. A lot of this just kind of came from the heart. So hopefully, looking back and listening back to this, I don't know. Again, I really don't want to offend people on here, but I do think, I know something. I don't think this is all coming from a place of ignorance. I really do my best to, you know, stay up to date on, you know, the times and the nature of the world we live in, and the fitness and health industry and the mental wellness industry. I just am trying to fit all those pieces together myself too. So if there are questions that you wanted to ask but I didn't get to, please let me know. I will actually be closing out today with a question that I got on Twitter from Nicole. Actually, so this is like a 3-part question that she had. The first question Nicole had for me, and first of all, thank you, Nicole, for sending this in. This was incredibly, like, really incredibly important for me to read and think about. So thanks for sending these in. Anyway, first question was exercise ever used as punishment during your gymnastics career, i.e. 20 leg lifts if you fall? Short answer, yes, absolutely it was. And you know, looking back, I see both sides of, you know, the pros and cons of doing that. So you know, I've been in the position of being a coach too. So, I will say that I really do think I have a full picture of what it means to, like, I guess the value of, punishment. I do think there is a place for it. But in, of course, a healthy way. I do think, like, I don't think it was wrong. First of all, I don't want to, like, totally take that out as a part of the sport experience. I do think there's a time and place where, climbing the ropes or doing leg lifts or push-ups or, running laps or whatever, I do think that can teach athletes things. We have to learn. You have to make mistakes. And if it means, like, getting stronger or, conditioning yourself to get better, as long as it's used in a way to make the athlete better and not tear them down on the inside or, degrade them, I think it's a valid way to incorporate punishment, so to speak, in sports. And I don't have all the answers here. I'm not proclaiming to, know it all or be perfect or have a better alternative, but I do think that was valuable for me. And I do think that sometimes that taught me, but I will also say on the other side, I think sometimes it was maybe overused a little bit because I really was a kid who, like, I did listen to my coaches for the most part, but when you get to a point where you're being punished all the time and it loses its value, it loses its impact. And I definitely, there were times where it's like, you could punish me as much as you want, but I'm not going to listen to you anymore, So if you're a coach listening, I just hope you're being really mindful with what you're punishing your athletes with, how you're doing it, how often you're doing it, and if it's the right, the appropriate time or place to do that. Some things, maybe we could let go a little more on, or maybe some things you're maybe being sensitive, letting the kid off when maybe they do deserve a punishment. So I don't know. I just hope that helps someone out there when coming up with those things. So thank you, Nicole, for that first question. Second question she asks is, during your career, were you ever encouraged to do non-gymnastics fitness, i.e. weightlifting, running, Zumba, yoga, etc.? Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We ran on a track at Brighton, 6:30, 7 in the morning, in our club days for years and years. I remember we did that. So we did that as a team. I do remember, at least during club, weightlifting was definitely, not encouraged as much, at least for women, for the girls' side. I know the boys had to do a lot of that, but, we were, either keep with light weights, but we had, high reps of body weight exercises. That was, really what our conditioning was all about, which I think is healthy. I know now, the sport has also changed since I was an athlete, and it's only gotten harder. I do think there also is a time and place for resistance training and weightlifting. So if you're asking about that specific thing, yes, I do believe that's really important. No matter what sport you're doing, that's just something we all need, I think, as people and humans in general, just to live long, healthy lives. Again, I just think it's a balance of cardio and weightlifting and resistance training and those kinds of things, and stretching. We have to do all of those things, I think, to maintain general strength, health, and wellness. But when it came to Zumba and yoga, you had specifically mentioned in your question, no. We were already working out so much, I don't think, even if we wanted to, or if our coaches wanted us to, we wouldn't have even had time to do that. So, at some point, you're just making the kids tired, So anyway, I hope that answered your question, but that's my general, broad, well-rounded answer, I think, to that question. So finally, the third question here that she asks is, what is your motivation for fitness today? So yeah, I think I pretty much covered that in our talk today, but generally, I guess if there's anything else I want to end on or speak on, generally, I just try to maintain a balance with everything. I try and do both cardio, and weightlifting and body weight exercises. I really try and just keep a variety, rather than doing one thing every day, because that would get a little monotonous and boring. I mean, I don't know. Then again, I am the kind of person who enjoys a routine and I love consistency. So I'm still just kind of trying to figure that out. And I just think I have really become good at listening to what my brain and my body need what my mind needs, what my soul needs. Sometimes I gave the example of like just throwing a 10-minute dance party. Like sometimes that's enough for me to feel good about like, okay, I was productive, I worked out, I sweat, I had fun. That's the thing. I'm trying to just maintain motivation for fun kinds of fitness for me. And I think that's just, again, working out every day, I can't do that. Like that's for me personally, is as much as you would think a gymnast would love to exercise and be physically fit and strong and like, be really, really hyperactive. I'm just not like that. I don't know, maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm like the one unicorn anomaly that like I don't feel the need to do that every single day to be healthy. But I guess on the other side of the coin, I will say, like for me, I do think I eat pretty well. I eat very balanced. I don't shy away from desserts, but when I'm full, and I don't eat when right before I get full. I listen to my body. I think that's like my main point that I want to make when it comes to both diet and fitness, like physical activity. Really, if there's anything I learned from gymnastics, it's to be balanced and not really go to the extremes. But I do think that for me personally, that's brought me success. Maybe other people, that's not like the best advice or thing for you to hear. Some people maybe need a little bit more guidance and a little bit more help. So I guess just be open to that, and I'm open to that. I'm open to feedback, and I'm always looking for new like content to consume when it comes to like how to be healthier in all aspects. So I love looking up healthy recipes everywhere. I love looking up like new kinds of fitness, places to go. I've just gotten into yoga recently. I've really learned to just totally embrace the yoga life. So that's been a huge like life-changing thing for me, not just with like physical fitness, but like just my mind too, because I do think you have to have a mind-body connection when it comes to exercise. Like, that, and that's just my opinion. I enjoy the things where, I don't know. I don't really know, I guess, how to express that in words, but I hope that answered your question. Thank you guys for sticking with me through this really long episode. I know this is probably the longest episode I've ever had, but just know that I really appreciate you guys bearing with me. I'm getting, clearly I'm getting more and more comfortable with sharing things with you guys. So, I hope, I didn't hurt anyone's feelings out there. I hope I didn't make anyone angry. But I think it's important for me to like talk about this stuff because I have these experiences and what is my experience it's great if I can learn from it, but why not share and see if it can help other people, and again, I don't have all the answers. I don't have I'm not the know-it-all. I'm sure maybe one day I'll look back on this and feel totally differently, but for right now, these are my thoughts and my feelings, and I'll talk even more about like body image in future episodes because that's like a huge, huge passion of mine to talk about. If you can't tell already, clearly I dedicated, a long time to writing my thesis and working on that. And that passion still lit within me today. So hopefully, you guys will stick around and listen to, that future episode. I'm excited. I think that will be with a guest. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. And now I'll close by saying thank you so much for listening. Please check out my social media platforms. You can find me on patreon.com/Briley Casanova for exclusive updates and the chance to give me direct feedback for future episodes. Y'all can also find me on Instagram at Mental Coach Briley. You can find me on Twitter at Mental Coach Bry. I also have a Facebook group at fb.me/Mental Coach Briley. And if you want to ask me about a free consultation or send me a sponsorship inquiry, please send me an email at briley@completeperformancecoaching.com. And with all that being said, you can also Venmo and PayPal me if you feel inclined to donate, but do not feel obligated. But if you want to directly contribute to this podcast and my business, I'd really appreciate it. My Venmo is Briley Casanova, and my PayPal is paypal.me/Briley Casanova as well. Also, feel free to reach out with questions and feedback you have at any time. Your feedback and input is valuable and very, very important to me. So please help contribute to my growth and knowledge. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in my next PEP Talk. Bye.